Hi, hope you guys are doing well. It's time for another update video, and in this one we're gonna talk about George's latest blog post. He gave us some brand new information on House of the Dragon, and in this video I'm gonna break it down and then share my thoughts with you guys. George at first talks about the upcoming events that he's attending, and those are all about his new Rise of the Dragons book, which isn't really a new book, it's just a re-released Fire and Blood with new artworks. Not what we're here for, so let's continue. George says, House of the Dragon has helped brighten my Sundays as well. I mean, I cannot really review the show, that would be crazy, I'm hardly objective. But I do want to commend Ryan Condal and Miguel Sapochnik and the cast and crew for the work they've done. Sunday's episode, Lord of the Tides, was everything I hoped it should be. Kudos to Eileen Shim, the scriptwriter, to Jeeta Patel, I probably butchered that, the director, to our incredible cast, and particularly to Paddy Considine for his portrayal of King Viserys, the first of his name. The character he created with Ryan and Sarah and Ty and the rest of our writers. For the show is so much more powerful and tragic and fully fleshed than my own version in Fire and Blood that I am half tempted to go back and rip up those chapters and rewrite the whole history of his reign. Paddy deserves an Emmy for this episode alone. If he doesn't get one, hey, there's no justice. Meanwhile, I'm going to give Archmaester Gildane a smack for leaving out so much good stuff. No, I'm not really going to rewrite Fire and Blood. That was a jape. Well, thank God. Yeah, he's absolutely right. Paddy Considine definitely deserves an Emmy for this last episode alone. House of the Dragon really improved the character. They added a lot of nuance when it comes to King Viserys on the show, and his portrayal of the king was just perfect, and I hope this catapults him into another level, into another dimension as an actor. He has been underrated for quite a while. He was amazing in Peaky Blinders as well. And yeah, I absolutely loved the last episode. For me, it was definitely the best episode of House of the Dragon so far. Just that whole throne room sequence alone. That is the sort of Westeros on our television that turned me into a diehard fan, that made me read the books all those years ago. They really got me invested, and for me, it's not only one of the best scenes of House of the Dragon, and that might be recency bias. We shall see how it holds up, but for me, it's one of the best scenes of that entire thing, House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones together. But anyway, let's move on. The next paragraph is basically George talking about that whole rivalry against Lord of the Rings, and that is just a made-up thing anyway. Sure, it was always gonna be like that, but for me personally, I haven't seen a single episode of Rings of Power yet. I'm waiting until all the episodes are out, and then I'm gonna watch it, give it a go. I've never been that much of a Tolkien fan, but you gotta admit, without Tolkien, there would be no George, there would be no Song of Ice and Fire, no Game of Thrones, no House of the Dragon. This is all only possible through the late, great Tolkien. And I also agree that we have more than enough room for all kinds of fantasy adaptations. This whole thing is going to inspire the next generation of fantasy writers, and I don't know, 30, 40 years down the line, we might be blessed with something that no one could even imagine right now. Again, I'll check Lord of the Rings out soon, but let's continue. I wanted to address the time jumps in the House of the Dragon too. Not with any kind of official statement, but with some musings on the subject. There's a lot to be said. I do not have the time to say it now though. Maybe in my next blog, or the one after that, or maybe never, since work keeps piling up. Very briefly, however, I think Ryan has handled the jumps very well, and I love both the younger Alicent and Rhaenyra and the adult versions, and the actors who play them. Truth be told, we have an incredible cast, and I love all of them. Do I wish we'd had more time to explore the relationship between Rhaenyra and Sir Harwin, the marriage of Daemon and Laena, and their time in Pentos, the birth of various and sundry children, and yes, Alicent gave Viserys 4 children, 3 sons and a daughter. Their youngest son, Daeron, is down in Old Town. We just did not have the time to work with him in this season, and everything else we had to skip. Sure, but there are only so many minutes in an episode. More on HBO than on the network shows I once wrote for, and only so many episodes in a season. Fewer and fewer as time goes by, it seems. When I was a boy, shows had 39 episodes a season. By the time I was writing for Beauty and the Beast, it was down to 22. Cable shrunk that even further. The Sopranos had 13 episodes per season, but just a few years later, Game of Thrones had only 10. And not even that those last 2 seasons. If House of the Dragon had 13 episodes per season, maybe we could have shown all the things we had to time jump over. Though that would have risked having some viewers complain that the show was too slow, that nothing happened. As it is, I am thrilled that we still have 10 hours every season to tell our tale. I hope that will continue to be true. It is going to take 4 full seasons of 10 episodes each to do justice to the Dance of the Dragons from start to finish. But right now, Ryan Condal's focus is on Hot D Season 2 and mine is on the Winds of Winter. Okay, let's break that down. Let's start right at the beginning. Let's start with the time jumps. Okay, so what I think happened, what it all basically comes down to is that one sentence right here. Viewers complained that the show was too slow, that nothing happened, and I agree. And I think they were not expecting the audience to respond so well to the first couple of episodes, where we just focused on dialogue and on character development, apart from that stepstone stuff. If you're HBO, the most lucrative thing you could have done would have been to just start with the dance. What we saw in episode 8, that could have been the very first episode of House of the Dragon. Maybe stretch it out to 2 episodes, introduce the king, show his illness, and then start with the dance. That would have been very successful. You could have started with the war. You could have made a 2-season thing out of it. But I respect them for actually giving us some backstory, to actually give us some layer. I am a big fan of that decision to make Alicent younger. I think that worked out very well. Sure, as he says here, I would have loved to see more as well. But it was kind of unpredictable. And I think that it's kind of likely that they had to fight to even get to do those younger versions of Rhaenyra and Alicent. That they even got to do so much in the past, but they even got to start so early to show the Great Council of Harrenhal. I think they really had to fight for that, and it is a pity. Sure, I also would have loved to see more Harwin, more Laena, especially Daemon and Laena. That is a kind of tragic thing. There's just more to it. Laena and Daemon had a very romantic relationship. Daemon was definitely in love with the girl, and yeah, you could have explored that. I think this whole thing in general is a very valuable lesson for HBO. This was only the very first season of the very first spin-off show. They're planning to do a cinematic universe, but in the future they should definitely trust their audience more. Because as they can see, they can. They actually wanted more of Harwin. They actually wanted more depth to that whole thing. We didn't have to arrive at the start of the Dance of the Dragons in season 1, and yet we're already here. And it's a pity, but I think overall, given what was probably happening behind the scenes, I think they've done a pretty good job in handling it. Next thing I want to talk about is Daeron, and man is it great to have confirmation that the guy is gonna turn up in season 2. He's gonna bring more layers to the Greens side, and that is very much needed. I think it's a funny thing, because overall I'd say the Greens are definitely portrayed as the villain side, but then again Alicent and Rhaenyra are both kind of whitewashed as characters. So it's a weird balance. It's kinda balanced, and they even went as far as making Aemon pretty likable, which I appreciate. He's one of my favorite characters, and it is nice to see that there's some nuance to it, so I take it. But then again, they made Aegon a rapist, which I didn't expect this early. When it comes to the Greens, a character that is just solid, like a solid human being, that is definitely a good thing. Because if you think about the secondary characters, the Blacks have Rhaenys and Corlys, who are not necessarily good human beings, don't get me wrong, but compared to Larys Strong, who is a kinslayer, and Otto Hightower, who needed 8 episodes of season 1 to finally act like a human being for a while and just relax and not just be sneaky all the time. You see where I'm going with this? This is awesome. This is great news. We definitely need him in House of the Dragon. He's very involved later on in the story. So it's great to have him. They're very faithful in many ways, and I like that. And the last thing I want to talk about today is that House of the Dragon will likely run for 4 seasons. I personally think 3 seasons would have also done the job, given that we're already at the dance now. But they can definitely make it work. I think the Pact of Ice and Fire is going to be like a huge thing in the 2nd season. We're going to have some Starks and going to visit Winterfell and really expand on that. And later on, I mean, the Hour of the Wolf is likely going to take some time. So 4 seasons, fair enough. I'm glad it's not like 5 seasons and just it shouldn't drag on. But given that we will likely not get any more time jumps, it's also nice to just stay in one timeline and watch this whole thing unfold. Oh, by the way, George is working on the Winds of Winter. Anyways, that's all I have for today. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. After House of the Dragon ends, I'm gonna introduce a whole new series, format kind of thing, where every 2 weeks I'm gonna compile the news, the latest rumors, maybe even leaks on this channel, and I'm gonna keep you updated all throughout the wait for House of the Dragon Season 2 and Winds of Winter, if that's ever gonna happen. So yeah, thank you, take care, and see you later.